Mara Williams Van Horn with Auntie Corn Leadership Strategies. How y'all doing? Um, I posted something on my Facebook page and then felt called to do a video supplement to that. So if we're not friends on Facebook, Tamara Williams Van Horn, and tell me that you found me on the YouTubes, and I will probably friend you. I have my profile locked down, so I don't post publicly on Facebook. That said, I was watching a reel, and it was a young woman who, I'm calling her a woman. It was a young woman who was giving us a brief historical profile on Steven Biko, a South African doctor, a South African revolutionary, a South African thinker and liberator of the people, who was killed by the apartheid government, in, I believe, 1977. So I would have been 2 years old when Steven Biko was forcibly removed from this earth. And his crime was feeding the people ideas that they were not inferior, feeding the people ideas that they could be liberated, feeding the people ideas that they came from greatness and were greatness, and that anything counter to that were lies from an oppressor or an oppressive system. And that got me to thinking, and this is what I posted. I am thinking today about the ancestors who fed the people. And Steven Biko was one of those ancestors who fed the people. And then I gave my viewers, my community, a challenge, and I'm coming here to give you that challenge as well, to give you that invitation. If challenge isn't a word you love, invitation, giving you a prompt, and that is to think about who has fed me. How could I feed someone else? And who would I feed if feeding was guaranteed? So I told folks to set a timer for 5 minutes and contemplate on those 3 questions, reflect on those 3 questions, and then when that timer went off, set another timer for 3 minutes and to free write what comes up. So free writing, if you don't know what free writing is, it's the act of writing without your hand stopping. And I made sure to say, if handwriting is accessible to your physical being, otherwise use your best method of capturing your ideas, your thoughts down for future reference. So whether that's a transcription app or creating art, or talking it out to a trusted friend or confidant, whatever that is. So 3 minutes after you've reflected for 5 minutes. So I'm going to share a little bit here and then go back onto my Facebook page and complete the loop, because I just did that exercise right after I got finished walking. And the immediate name that came to me when I thought of who has fed you is my grandmother. For anyone who knows my grandmother or knew my grandmother transitioned, passed a few years ago now. My grandmother could cook. My grandmother not only could cook, but also took care of a lot of the grandchildren after school, on those holidays when parents didn't get off work, for trips. Like, my grandmother was very much a caregiver to her grandchildren, and I was fortunate enough to be around her quite a bit. So my mom, for a decent amount of time, worked a shift that was 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And so she was at work when we got out of school and, kind of past bedtime. So my grandmother would collect us off the bus and feed us, and then get us ready for bed, so that when my mom came, we were, usually dressed in pajamas and all of that good stuff. And she would just take us home and throw us into the bed. I mean, not literally, but you get what I'm saying. So my grandmother was that first name that came to mind. And my grandmother continued to feed me throughout my lifetime. After my grandfather died, I came to live with my grandmother, and I was an adult. I was a younger adult, but I was an adult, and my grandma and I were roommates. We called ourselves the Golden Girls, even with the age gap. And in that time, she really stepped from being my grandmother into being my best friend. And she not only fed food, but she fed wisdom, she fed habits, she fed practices. I learned how to clean a lot from my grandmother. I learned how to like put rhythm to my days from my grandmother, to seek rhythm from my days. I learned to pay attention to the people and neighbors around me. For my grandmother, you might say that she was a little nosy. She did not work outside the home. So she spent a lot of time like looking out of her window and watching what was going on the street around her. And so that was the main person. I mean, and then lots of other names came after that, but we're just doing a little snippet, a little summary of what came up in my 5 minutes of reflection. And then, how could I feed someone else? I am really intrigued by the idea of feeding the people in similar ways to Steven Biko. I love encouraging people. I get a lot out of being able to show people a new technique, a new process that helps them feel more capable of expressing themselves, more capable of discovering their truth, remembering their truth, speaking their truth, more ready and prepared and equipped to go out and make the world a better place, to help someone else to see something that needs solving and to solve it, to see something that needs speaking up about and to speak on it, those kinds of things. So how could I feed someone else to it? I really think about that as, giving people tools, giving people knowledge, giving people practices, giving people experiences so they feel it in their bodies, not just like inspiring speech, but actual lived experiences that they can remember and draw back on and use that as fuel to continue to go forward. And who would I feed if feeding was guaranteed? Now that was a tougher question. Specific names didn't really come up. And that said, one of the things that was sitting right in front of me is, who would I feed if feeding was guaranteed? For sure, college students. For sure, people of university age. It's what I do every day. It's what I attempt to do when I go to work every day. There is something about that emerging adulthood stage that just grabs me. And also, young adult professionals. I really remember being very into that space when I was a young adult. The 40 under 40s, the downtown residence councils, the over the Rhine residence councils, those kinds of things. Being part of young people with a lot of energy and a lot of civic commitment and civic pride and a desire to live in the local and to honor the local, and to make the place that they live a good place to live for not just themselves, but for anyone that they came in contact with. So those those are just some examples of what came up for me as I did this exercise. Again, I'd love to have you try that exercise. Again, 5 minutes of reflecting on these 3 questions, and then 3 minutes of free writing or free capturing your thoughts on that. And then let me know how it went for you if you tried it out. Also, if you enjoy this kind of content, like and subscribe and share it with someone else, and uh, friend me on Facebook and all of those things. So with that, I'm going to say adios, and I hope that you feel fed by this transmission.